Department issuing this statement today about the Beacon Power loan, the company that went bankrupt. We were careful to include many protections for the taxpayer. The loan was set up in a way that ensures the department is not directly exposed to the liabilities of the parent company. So once again, the government doling out millions of tax dollars to a company that goes bust. And Jonathan Honig says more proof the government is treating your money like monopoly money. He's joined by Jonas Max Ferris and Lenore Hawkins. Jonathan, make your case.
Well, it's money out the door, Liz. It's taxpayer money, once again, literally flushed down the drain. And to that extent, it's thievery. It's criminal theft. Hundreds of millions of dollars, billions when you add it all up, flushed down the toilet into the green energy fraud. And as the representative pointed out, government's role is to protect rights, not to act like a private equity investor. And whether it's ethanol under the previous president or Solyndra and now Beacon Power under our current president, when governments make decisions for political purposes, not economic ones, wealth destruction always follows.
You know, Lenore, some people on the left would say, I've heard them make this case that, the oil companies get tax breaks. We need to make these taxpayer investments in clean energy in order to get away from fossil fuels. But oil companies also pay a lot in taxes. What do you buy? Do you buy that argument? That argument being that, we need to use taxpayer money to make clean energy investments?
No, the government's role is to create an environment for success, not to pick which technologies nor which companies are going to be successful. The problem here is that through taxation, the government takes productive capital from a successful company, sets aside a portion for bureaucratic costs, and then funnels the remainder into ventures that serve political ends, not necessarily market goals. That just results in waste of resources, and it's a drain on the economy.
All right, Jonas, if this worked, we know that a lot of industries through the decades have gotten taxpayer money. But if this worked, if it was so successful, we would not be $14 trillion in the hole, right?
Well, if it worked, there'd be a lot of upside. I mean, if we're going to, okay, let's pretend we're going to play venture capital for the sake of argument. The whole point of that is you actually have a portfolio of companies. Well, maybe half will go bankrupt. That's not abnormal. Everyone's surprised that these startup energy companies are going broke left and right. That is the model. The difference is when Kleiner Perkins or a venture capitalist puts money in one of these, they might make 10, 20, 30 times the return.
But the
government's not going to make anything.
Do you agree this is a great use of taxpayer money?
No, but let me highlight that. It's very easy to sit here and say, oh, this is messing with the free market. You're bound to lose. This is stupid. But the reality is the other governments of the world are making these kind of investments. Now, if they weren't doing that, we shouldn't be doing this, right? Because there'd be a free market.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, Jonathan, they're making investments and they're making the products, in China much more cheaply on the backs of, low-cost labor. They're hurting their own populations, right?
And China's making those windmills and technologies to sell to us simply because of our subsidies. I think, Jonas, that's the problem. Just because every other country is subsidizing this technology, to our other guest's point, which simply does not work, why should we throw U.S. taxpayer money down the drain to follow?
Go ahead.
Because there's going to be a point in 5 or 10 or 15 years where this will be financially feasible. It's not now because regular energy is too cheap. And they're essentially jump-starting that curve by essentially taking losses now.
We heard the same thing in the 70s.
Let him finish.
I'm just saying there's going to be a point in 10 or 15 years where we're not going to own this industry because we let other governments take it control by handing money.
But so what? So then the consumer will still get it cheap. Lenore, here's the issue, too. We've got venture capitalists in California doing things like launching startup subsidy startups, these little units that take advantage of government money, and then they line their own pockets with it. We see that happening in California. What do you make of that?
The incentives are all perverted. Now, I appreciate that what you're talking about here is you don't want us to be behind with the technology. So the thinking of having government subsidize the generation of new technology, that would be a good thing. However, to what you just said, the point there, the incentives are all perverted. You don't have the feedback of the market where the desire is to get a decent return. These decisions are being made for political reasons. They're not being made for returns.
Right. Jonas gets the final word. Isn't that the issue, that the government is inefficient with taxpayer money?
Yeah, but there's a situation here that's going on globally, and this is a poorly designed program. There is a way to compete and beat China without throwing money in the toilet. We could be investing alongside a venture capital firm with the same up and downside, and that way, at least they're doing the due diligence to know which companies.
Well, maybe you should be running the program.
I'm just saying there's a way to pull this off and beat the Germany and
What
China.
are you doing sitting here? You get down to Occupy Washington. You do your own Occupy Department of Energy. All right, Jonas is going to do Occupy Department of Energy. He's going to fix little problem for us. Thank you, Jonas. Thank you, gang. Always terrific. Occupy protests not fading because some cities are aiding